Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Vantage Driver's Seat. This is your weekly Vantage recap. I'm here today, your host, Nico, and with me today, returning from last week, is Chief Dankaroo and special guest, Elliott Lang. Say hello, fellas.
Yo, what's up?
It's nice to be here.
Well.
The same.
Another week down in Vantage. We're heading towards the end now of January. We had a pretty eventful week so far. We'll get into it. Actually, let's go ahead and hop straight into it. We had trucks at Zolder to start out the week last Wednesday. Elliott, you were in that race. It was the Daniel Michel show once again. How was that race for you?
Well, for me personally, that race was an interesting one. I went in with even less practice than Daniel did. Only did about 5 laps beforehand, no flying laps. Learned the track, learned how to car track combo in the practice and qualifying. So yeah, I made up some good time there towards the end after I figured out the car. Ended up with the second fastest lap of the race. But yeah, Daniel, Michelle, and Todd Lee. I mean, I knew Todd Lee would be fast. I knew Daniel Michelle was always going to be fast. But yeah, they were in a real class of their own.
Yeah, Michelle lapped everybody besides Todd Lee, who was in second place. We all know Daniel Michel was fast, and I said it on the broadcast. I knew he had pace, but no, I think that was kind of like he took a step, it would seem, a next level kind of pace that he had at Zolder.
I would definitely say so. I feel like with some more practice, I could have definitely been up there. But yeah, Daniel Michelle definitely the number one driver in the Vantage iRacing side, and definitely one of the top three road course drivers of all time in Vantage iRacing.
Yeah, absolutely. He has some insane pace. Chief, what did you think of that race at Zolder last week?
I thought it was very boring. But domination from Daniel Michel. What else can you expect from him, honestly? Didn't even have the track until about an hour before the race. So just insane, really.
Yeah, he went out there, he put on a show. A lot of drivers, maybe not a lot, but a couple of drivers were complaining that, Zolder's not a traditional, I guess, NASCAR road course. I think it's a perfectly fine track. I did hear that the car track combo was a little bit tricky. Elliott, do you think maybe it was more of a skill issue? Because some of you guys did adjust as the race went on, some others didn't. What do you think of that?
Not to take away from the other drivers, but I would say a portion of it was a bit of a skill issue on their end. But also, I feel like yeah, the car track combo was definitely harsh. The thing with the trucks on iRacing is they don't have an official road setup. They can only unlike the the next gen Cup car, which has a blank road setup for a blanket amount of tracks. The truck doesn't have that, so we had to end up using the Watkins Glen setup, which really added some issues on corner drive off where the car would just like to snap loose on you. Um, but yeah, I would say it was a about a 60 to 70% on the setup, and probably about a 30 to 40% on just drivers not being used to road courses in stock cars.
Yeah, and you could see, I mean, the cream really rose to the top. Is that the saying? I think so. But yeah, it was Todd Lee, Daniel Michel, and then, of course, you got up there as well. You had a little bit of a comeback. You were kind of down in the dumps a little bit at an earlier stage. You had an incident, and you kind of had to fight your way back.
Yeah, I'd definitely say I turned it around there. I mean, I told you in my first pit stop when you called me up there that, I'm going to try and settle and figure out the car and track. And yeah, I ended up doing that, setting the second fastest lap of the race ahead of Todd. But yeah, I'd say that this just really goes to show that myself, a driver who has over 400 road races on iRacing, does road racing in real life, and competes at those higher levels on iRacing on leagues and such, that Daniel Michel was still in a class of his own.
Yeah, he just went out there and he really gelled with the track, and it was another victory for him in the truck series. And we'll see how he goes for the rest of the VPS season. He has one race left in the truck season. I don't want to spoil anything. Maybe we'll get into it next week before anything is official. But moving on to the Pro Series, a great race at Auto Club, no longer existing track, but excuse, not Auto Club. Sorry, that was last week. Nashville Super Speedway was this week. My mistake.
Absolutely.
A great race nonetheless, though. We had lots of good racing all throughout. What did you think of Nashville?
I definitely thought it was very similar to the the Panhandle Truck Series race there a couple weeks back, where these drivers they gel really well with that track. They race really cleanly, yet still really hard. And while there was a bit more conflict and contact than there was that truck race at Nashville, it was still very clean, very safe and sensible racing from them all throughout, which is a very good thing in this series, and unfortunately something we have not been used to seeing.
Yeah, it seems like the driving standard has slowly been improving over the last couple of weeks, which is a good thing. Last week's race at Auto Club, or I guess 2 weeks ago at Auto Club, was great, put on a great action. And then, like you said, yeah, Nashville, lots of good, clean, hard racing. Contact here and there, but it wasn't exactly a crash fest or anything. You had drivers going 2, 3 wide into the corners, and I think just Nashville is that nice sweet spot where it provides great racing, but it also takes a lot of skill to be fast there.
Yeah, certainly.
And that was another Daniel Michelle win, and he is the leader in both the trucks and the Pro Series point standings right now. And we'll take a look. Let me see real quick. I'm gonna look at trucks real quick. It is Daniel Michelle at 268 with 5 wins on the season, an absolutely dominating performance so far in trucks. As mentioned earlier, he won't be able to finish the season, neither him nor Kyle Purcell. So it's going to be up to the others like Todd Lee, Hightower, Brian Newell, everyone else like that. Where do we think this championship is going to go for trucks?
I think just looking at it, the only other person with the same amount of top tens as Daniel Michelle, William Hightower. This season, in 2025, he's really stepped it up compared to his first season in the Vantage Pro Series, where he he was still very consistent. He's consistent as always, top five driver at any given moment. But this year, he's really become a top three driver in Vantage.
Yeah, we were saying this last week for William Hightower. He's been steadily improving. Like you said, first season of Pro Series, he was the runner up. He did have a lot of top 10 and top 5 finishes, consistently always up there, but never really fighting for podiums or wins or pole positions or anything like that. But the calendar flipped to 2025, and he's up there. He's getting poles. He's getting, of course, multiple top 5s and top 10s. He won at Daytona in the Pro Series, so he's really making a stride. And I think without Daniel Michelle and Kyle Purcell there in trucks, he could be the new favorite to win this championship.
Yeah, definitely, and that also brings up a good point about some of his teammates in Horsepower Hill Racing, because depending on how us as the admins make this call, we could be potentially extending the playoffs to include two more drivers, since there's a guarantee two more won't show up, and that will include drivers like Kurt Bray, who can drivers like Kurt Bray who can very well perform these playoffs. He's a race winner in the truck series. He's a race winner in the truck series at Talladega, but unfortunately he didn't get that win and counted because of some incidents going on surrounding that win. And and then the bubble becomes for 14th position, which is close between Paul French Jr. and Justin Marino. I mean, very close between them.
Yeah, 7 points separate the two. We're going into the regular season finale at WTT this week. This is dropping on Wednesday, so it'll actually be day of. It'll technically be tonight if you're watching this as it premieres. So, Truck Series regular season finale, potentially, probably a good chance actually that both Kurt Bray, Justin Marino, Paul French are all in the mix. Maybe Derek Fye if he gets a win and a lot of help, but he's kind of a long shot more than anything. But I think it's going to come down to Bray, Marino, and French.
Yeah, speaking on Derek Fye, he's definitely shown some pace here and there. He's a very new driver to Vantage. He only joined for the second round of the Vantage Pro Series, and the contingency race in the trucks that same week. But yeah, big moves coming from him. He's signed to Aftershock Motorsports along with Parker Vance, Jacob Hoskins, and here and there Jack Oldenburg. But yeah, he has been. I feel he is a very good driver advantage, and he has that pace to make a step up.
Yeah, he does. Raw pace. He reminds me a lot of, early season one William Hightower, actually. Or if you remember, Cole T. Wilson was always up there as well. That's kind of what I'm thinking, especially in the Pro Series of Derek Fye. He's kind of always up there. He has some bad luck. He doesn't always have the greatest finishes, but he is usually running top 5 to top 10 most of the time.
Yeah, definitely. I also feel that there's gonna be a lot of big names trying to fight it for the playoffs. Like, think about it, we have drivers like Kurt Bray and Kurt Bray, who is he is a race winner, and he has some of the most podiums in Vantage iRacing and the Pro Series and Truck Series combined. I mean, there's a lot of big surprises here. Nearly locked into the playoffs in P8, Jacob Hoskins. He has not had the best of seasons, but yet he's consistently shown up all these weeks and is able to make things work out. Other drivers like Jonathan Green. I mean, he's run a very quiet race. He runs a very quiet race every time, yet he still finds a way to that checkered flag in a good enough position. I mean, three top fives, 4 top 10s in this season, which has only been 7, 8 races.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of these guys are super consistent. They're just kind of up there. They're maybe not fighting for wins every week with Daniel Michel, but they're up there, like you said, with Jonathan Green. He has 4 top 10s, 3 top 5s, pretty good run. Same with Whitfield, 4 top 10s as well. Hoskins is up there every week. He actually just missed out on a top 10. I think it was in the Pro Series actually, but he got on the top 10 at Zolder. He actually, speaking of Hoskins, I know he finished a couple laps down and he didn't really have a strong end to the race at Zolder, did Hoskins, but he actually started out really well. I think he was up, Chief, if you remember this, he was racing, he was up like, he spun in turn 1, and then he gained like 5 or 6 spots over the next couple of laps, so he was working his way up to the field.
Yeah, I would say Jacob Hoskins, I think he is starting to go into stride. He's not one. I wouldn't consider him yet one of the main guys to beat yet, obviously, because he just hasn't had shown that performance yet. But he is week in week out. He's always showing raw pace. Think of it in the real life sector to someone like a Carson Hocevar, where he has that really raw speed. It's just unrefined.
Yeah, it's there. All the parts are there. It's just a matter of putting them together to get a whole complete race.
Yeah.
There'll be races where he's, running in the top 5 for half the race, and then second half drops off, or he's at the back the first half of the race, and then he gets to the front at the end. He has to put it together a whole entire race, I think, before he can really be considered, up there with the Michels, the Lees, the Hightowers. But it's definitely there. He's qualified at the front multiple times. He's been top of the leaderboards in practice multiple times. But it's just when we get to that whole, whole race picture is where it starts to fall apart a little bit. Oh, excuse me. But it is definitely there. Like the speed is there. I think it just has to come down to patience and, of course, got to be lucky as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really interesting thing to see him progress and grow as a driver. And I'm going to go on the record and say I feel that, especially in the Pro Series, I feel by the time we hit season's end there towards May towards May and April, that Jacob Hoskins will have at least a podium, maybe even a win.
Yeah, you got to be in the right place at the right time. Of course, we have super speedway races where anyone can win. And then, I mean, there was a point in time early on at Zolder where he looked like he could genuinely be challenging for a top 3 finish before, things kind of came unraveled. But his pace in the first part of that race where he was just flying by people, it's just, if you can be more consistent and have that 1 lap pace over a long distance, you can get up there. And I think there's definitely some podiums in his future, maybe even a win.
Yeah, and another driver I'd like to highlight right on the who was formerly on the bubble before the announcement of Daniel Michel and Kyle Purcell's removal. Parker Vance came back from a disqualification in Indianapolis Raceway Park. My apologies. To now be in the playoffs. Same thing with David Morales, disqualification at Talladega, for intentional wrecking, unfortunately, against Daniel Michel. But again, locked himself into the playoffs and still had a decent enough showing at Zolder in some portions of that race.
Yeah, Morales and Parker Vance, both disqualified, like you said, both making comebacks. A lot of drivers would be super demoralized, especially when you're at or around the bubble. But, they keep showing up every week and they keep putting in good performances, and sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah, I mean, it's emotions are running high, especially with in the trucks. I mean, they're fighting for $100 here for the champion, and in the Pro Series, they're fighting for $150. But yeah, emotions are running high, and that does lead to some disqualifications. But you're not remembered for how you get disqualified. You're remembered for how you overcome that disqualification and put something together in this championship.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not over until it's over. You get to the playoffs. You got to fight for wins, fight for points, and then maybe you have a chance to come out on top at season's end. But yeah, that's just gonna about wrap up our talk. Is there anything else you wanted to add up, or excuse me, add on to the iRacing side of things?
I would like to turn over to the Pro Series points real quickly because
Yeah,
we've talked a lot about this truck series.
yeah. Let's take a look at those real quick. So we do have Daniel
Yeah,
Michel, of course. No surprise at the top of the points. He's only 9 points clear, however, of Daytona winner William Hightower. But the real discrepancy, if you want to look at his playoff points, 34 points for Michel, 15 for Hightower, and he's nearly 20 points clear of anyone else come playoff time.
yeah. I mean, it's incredible already. 34 playoff points. It's very surprising that we've gotten this much playoff points in already by end of 3 races. Thinking back to it though, compared to last season, the point structure has been changed. Playoff points. In season one, it was a 5-3-1 system, and there was no stage. Now it's a 7-5-3-1. Yeah, a 10-7-5-3-1 system for the end of the race, and there's a 3-2-1 for the single stage at 40%. But yeah, he's already made waves with those playoff points. 2 poles, 2 wins. I mean, three top five in every race. He has looked just unstoppable as usual.
Yeah, like I said, he's hitting a new stride. He's finished, third, first. So his worst finish this season so far is third, which is insane to think of. But if he continues on this kind of streak as we head towards the throwback race at North Wilkesboro, which would be tomorrow after this drops, the Thursday of this week, it's going to be interesting because North Wilkesboro, it's not super easy to pass. So if you get caught behind there, you could be in a world of hurt.
And yeah, North Wilkesboro, the seasonal throwback race for the Vantage Pro Series. But yeah, thinking back to what I was saying earlier, Kurt Bray, third in points. This is a driver who is currently not locked into the playoffs or even in the playoffs in the Truck Series. And considering the fact that he's third in points in the Pro Series, I feel like he can definitely make his way into that 12th spot.
Oh yeah, easily. I think if he just continues to be there at the end of every race, be consistently finishing. Right now it's at 16. That could change. I don't want to put anything out there, but as of right now, it's 16 drivers in the playoffs. So we'll see how that goes as the season goes on. But yeah, Kurt Bray up there in third in points, has a handful of playoff points. Just got to be consistent. I think Kurt Bray is up there with those guys that you talk about that could be like up next. He has a race win already at Talladega in trucks. And it could be his time sooner rather than later in the Pro Series.
Yeah, I mean, thinking back to other road courses we've had in the past in the Vantage iRacing side, North Wilkesboro last season with the end of race battle between Noah Carter and Kyle Crane, and sorry, Nolan Crane, and the as well as other tracks like IRP most recently with the major comeback from Daniel Michelle. Yeah, short tracks are a great equalizer in Vantage iRacing where any driver, as long as they keep their nose clean, which has been very hard to do in the past, they can pull away by multiple laps and maybe even secure this win.
Yeah, especially if it goes green. It would be, you know, who can be more consistent, who can navigate traffic the best, and who can keep it clean. But if it turns into a wreck fest, it turns into a bit of a survival kind of race that we saw unfortunately at IRP, where you just want to stay out front, go a couple laps, and just get to the end.
Some other drivers not commonly talked about. This is another person I'd say in both series is really making waves. Todd Lee. Todd Lee has multiple podiums. He was second in Zolder. I mean, this is a driver who joined partway through Vantage Pro Series Season 1 and is now arguably the third best driver behind Daniel Michel or and Kyle Purcell. That's been debated between his teammate and good friend William Hightower. But yeah, Todd Lee, big name.
Yeah, absolutely. Todd Lee's up there. He's turning into a real veteran. It's getting to the point now where if you've been in the iRacing side of things since season 1 of Pro Series, you're starting to turn into a veteran of the league, like the likes of Hightower and Michelle, and even Todd Lee, because we're starting to see a lot of new faces, which is a good thing.
Yeah, very good thing. Finally on the Pro Series, before we move on to the to Friday Night Fenders on Forza Motorsport and Retro GP on Forza Motorsport, I'd like to talk about Horsepower Hill Racing. They have they are filling the stage with Horsepower Hill themselves and their satellite team, Bray Racing, team principled by Kurt Bray. Looking at the points right now, the top first, second, third, fourth, fifth, the top 5 drivers in points in the Vantage Pro Series are all their drivers. And then after sixth, after HR8 racing driver Ben Kuhn and a couple others, yeah, they have 8 drivers on this championship. Almost all of them in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a great start to the season for them. I remember they were running really strong at Daytona. They were 1, 2, 3 in the stage, I think, at one point at Daytona, and it's
Yeah,
just
they
continuing
finished the
on.
race 1, 2, 3.
They did, yeah, you're right. So
Yeah.
it's just, I don't want to throw the word domination out there, but it's looking like a Horsepower Hill party and led by the Daniel
I
Michelle show.
mean, yeah, think of their drivers. They have Daniel Michelle themselves, William Hightower, Todd Lee, Kurt Bray, a recent signing, Sean Purcell. Sean wasn't even racing beforehand, and now he's a Horsepower Hill driver in the number 74, and he's already making waves in his first start. He has 7 playoff points in his first start with in the Vantage Pro Series already, which is more we can say than a full-time driver who's raced in all the previous races, Landon Bednar's, who is currently in the playoffs.
Yeah, he showed up and immediately got second. You're listening at home and you remember season 1 of the Pro Series, Purcell, both of them joined a little bit later in the season, and Kyle made it into the playoffs. I think Sean missed out by, it was like less than 10
A singular
points.
point.
It was a
a
single
singular
point.
point.
Yeah. So
Yeah, some big stuff there. Like, yeah, Kyle Purcell, Sean Purcell, they joined Chicagoland Racing in season 1 of Vantage Pro Series. Their first race was Road America. But yeah, if Sean Purcell was 1 position at Talladega away from being locked in that playoffs and potentially joining his brother there in the Final Four.
yeah, it was super close. I know he's kind of looking to get revenge for that, and he's off to a good start. He's currently 12 points outside of the playoffs right now, which is, long season to go. And of course, it's win and you're in, so long as you make, in Purcell's case, the rest of the season. You can only miss 3 races. So win and you're in the playoffs, or you get in on points. And of course, there's not enough races to have 16 winners in the regular season. So there's going to be a couple guys in there on points.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, drivers I'm thinking are going to point in Justin Marino. I mean, he is right on that cutoff there, but if he stays consistent and puts down some more finishes, and maybe increases that finishing position ever so slightly, I feel like he could point his way in. Derek Fye, another one who we were just talking about in the Truck Series, he could be a point his way in. And one of the other Aftershock guys, Tyler Smith. Horsepower Hill guys, Tyler Smith. I'd say a lot of these drivers can point their way into here.
They definitely can. Tyler Smith he's only been here for 2 races. He raced at Auto Club and then Nashville the last 2 weeks. He's been pretty consistent. So he's another one of those guys. There's a lot of guys that are like, maybe upper midfield. They're like 6th to 11th kind of every week. And those guys are going to be just clawing and fighting for every single point to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, some big waves going in the Thursday night series of the Vantage Pro Series. Very close racing. And same thing with the Wednesday night series. Remember to tune in tonight when this goes live for the Vantage Truck Series. But yeah, a lot of big names, big moves, and close racing coming from Vantage iRacing.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you don't have a PC, if you don't have iRacing, maybe NASCAR, maybe isn't even your thing, I would say just give it a try. Give it a watch. There's usually some really good and close racing. Usually, I feel like 7 times out of 10, it's an exciting, close, nail-biting finish. Great, talented drivers all around. Just give it a try. Give it a watch. If you're a returning fan, give it a watch again. It's going to be fun. It's always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. As the man as the man in the admin booth race controlling all these, I look at the chat and I see that this interaction, it really brings a smile to my face, and I know it does for the drivers as well when I talk to them, that they like to see this league grow, and they like seeing the engagement, the support, and the little rivalries forming between them in the Twitch chats. But yeah, if you are a returning member, maybe tell one of your friends about it, being like, hey, there's this really cool league. I want you to maybe watch it out. Or if you're a new member, who's just coming back to Vantage, maybe from a bit of a break from sim racing in general, yeah, the Pro Series and Truck Series are a great place to start if you want to get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Great viewing. Great time in the chat. Like you said, chat's usually pretty active. People talking about the races and the drivers and everything. And yeah, it's a good time all around. So hope you guys come out. And with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the third race of the previous week, which was our Friday Night Fenders League at Watkins Glen. We'll go ahead and turn over to Chief a little bit on this one. Chief, you still there with us?
Yes.
All right. So you were in this race. You were competitive at some parts. You fell back in others. How was Watkins Glen for you?
Garbage. So I qualified on pole because I'm just fast, and then I was leading for a good majority of the race. I made a mistake about halfway through. Caution was called, and it was up to pit strategy then, basically. And we're about halfway, so a lot of us took mediums, which obviously are faster than the hard tires. I think Loud was one of the only ones that took hard tires, and he ended up winning because he didn't have to pit. But the rest of us, our tires just shredded. Um, I didn't think that would happen, honestly, but congrats to Loud. Good strategy, it paid off.
Yeah, you mentioned those tires. One thing about Forza, and I mentioned it on the broadcast, is once they hit that certain point where they're starting to wear and it's falling off, it is a cliff. It's almost completely undrivable.
It's really bad. You can't turn the car at all.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking like 5 to 6 seconds a lap slower. It is really like you have to pit immediately, otherwise your race is over. There's no two ways about it. And it came down to the end there with Loud and Clutch. Clutch was on the softer tires, and Loud was, like you said, on the hard tires. And he stayed out. Clutch went into pit, and he actually ran him down. He passed him on the last lap, and he crossed the line in first. However, there was a penalty that Clutch received via the in-game kind of penalty system that didn't allow him to win the race. He lost the race again to Clutch. And throwing back, if you've been a longtime Vantage fan or member, you remember last year's Vindy 500 on Forza, where Clutch won the drag race to the line, but after penalties, Loud Balloon was promoted to first place. So if I had a dime for every time he lost the race to Loud because of penalties, I would have 2 dimes.
Yeah. Good racing though. It was great fun. Really clean. From all those guys, which is great. Love to see it. And heading to Eagle Rock next week, or this week actually. So that'll be really fun. Our first and only short track pretty much on the schedule. Uh, I'm pretty good there. I think I have a good shot to win. Hopefully not a lot of cautions though. I know that comes up at short tracks. I think it'll be good though.
Yeah, it's seemingly short track week. Pro Series is at North Wilkesboro. Trucks is at WTT, which is sort of a short track, not really. It's like a long short track. And then Eagle Rock in Friday Night Fenders, which is a full-on short track. You've raced leagues there before and online and stuff. What do you think the key to Eagle Rock is going to be?
The biggest key to Eagle Rock is to just hold the low lane and to preserve your tires. I've lost a league race there from my tires just being shredded. Like you said, the tire system is kind of jank and it just falls off a cliff basically. So that's going to be the name of the game. You can battle as much as you want, you can bang as much as you want, but at the end of the day, if your tires aren't there at the end, you're just going to fall off. They're going to pass you.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do, like we said. Forza has come a long way. We did try racing there at the end of 23 and beginning of 24. What's that? Built from the ground up.
Built from the ground up.
That's what they say, yeah. It has come a long way. I think it's definitely better. I think the racing is a lot more fun to watch. They have the spectator system now, which is cool. That game's come a long way. And the racing at Watkins Glen was pretty fun all throughout. There was a couple incidents, but it wasn't an absolute chaos crash fest. There was a lot of hard side-by-side racing, people really going on the limits there. So I think these cars at road courses are super fun. So that is it for Friday Night Fenders. Like I said, Eagle Rock this Friday. And let's move on to the final race of the week. It was the Retro GP at Mugello. A great track. I think this one went caution-free. No safety cars this time around. Unlike last week, there was a handful. But this race went all the way to the end. It was another dominating win from Deutsch Machine.
Dutch Machine, I think it's pronounced. That's what he said.
Dutch Machine. Yeah, our friend over from Germany. It's pretty cool to see how international Vantage has been over the years. I really like that it's not just America-centric, even though...
Like, we got Elliott from Africa. Lab Balloon from Bangladesh. It's really great to see, honestly.
Yeah, my favorite African, Elliott, of course.
I didn't know Africa. I didn't know Ohio was in Africa.
Africa, Ohio. But yeah, no, there's a lot of international drivers. There has been in the past. The points leader in Retro GP is from Germany, as expected. Not as expected, but as previously mentioned. Country Pepper, of course, in second place. I don't know what it is with that guy, but he's just randomly fast on Forza. I don't really understand it. He just shows up and is quick. He's not like the fastest in the world or anything, but he is consistently up there. It's weird. What'd you say?
That's what Tim Hortons does to you.
Yeah, he's running on that Tim Hortons. And it's Country Pepper, Canadian, by the way. A real Canadian, not like a Africa, Ohio Canadian. But yeah, it was a pretty good race. Purge is doing a pretty good job. We could give a shout out to Purge. This is his first real time organizing and running his own series under the Vantage banner since becoming an FIA member. So he's putting that USRL skills to good use.
Dutch Machine Merchant, if you ask me.
Dutch Machine Merchant. Next week they head, or I guess this week, they head to Brands Hatch, which should be fun for those cars. There's little to no room for error on Brands Hatch. It's a skinnier track. Side-by-side racing is going to be interesting. It's grass right off the racing line, or right off the racing surface. So it's going to be interesting nonetheless. So as we round out this show, let's go ahead and take a look at the weekly power rankings brought to you by, well, I don't know, brought to you by nobody.
Brought to you by me.
Brought to you by Elliott from Africa, Ohio. Yeah, top of the leaderboard, of course, still Daniel Michel. He's got 4 wins on the year. So no one's really catching up to him right now. Second place, though. Moving up 4 spots with his win at Mugello is Dutch Machine. And then going down the order, we got William Hightower, Kyle Purcell, Kurt Bray. Those are all down 1 spot there. Kind of got jumped by Dutch as he won at Mugello. And then Todd Lee up 6 spots in 6th place. Country Pepper up a spot in the 7th with another podium. Amy Clean, the Friday Night Fenders Daytona winner, he's down to 8th. Clutch FL Man, he went up to 9th place with another 2nd place finish. And Loud Balloon, after inheriting a win at Watkins Glen, is our big mover. He went from 34th in the rankings to 10th, so up 24 spots with 1 race win. So he jumped a whole bunch of people. What do you guys make of the top 10? Anybody?
I think it's a very good top 10, honestly.
It's garbage if I'm not in there. That's all I gotta say.
We'll just drive better then. Yeah, I'd say good top 10. I like the I like to see Deutsch up there after that win. I like to see the variety of different series. I like to see the variety of different series being represented on our power rankings top 10. Yeah,
and Daniel Michel, he's got 6 starts, 6 podiums, and 4 wins on the season. So he's, or on the year, not just on the season, but on the calendar year. 21 days into the year, he's looking to be a historical kind of year. If he can continue at this pace, we'll see if he can keep it up. But yeah, he's a potential front runner for Driver of the Year 2025. Of course, we got 11 and a half months to go before the 25 awards, but it's looking like the Daniel Michel show might take over Vantage in 2025.
Yeah, certainly.
All right. Is there anyone?
Drive better. Just drive faster, Chief.
Nerd emoji.
Yeah. Don't mind me actively looking up how much Forza Motorsport is on Steam, just so I can beat you on track.
Oh,
Dude.
let's do it.
Get ACC right now. We'll play.
I already have it.
Okay, bet. Load it up.
All right. Well, do you have it on PC?
Nah. Sorry.
Okay, then I'm not buying it a second time.
How much is it? I'll buy it for you right now if it's cheap. Let's check it
I'm
out.
also not setting up my Xbox on that.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
This guy's scared of me. That's all it is. He's just scared of me.
Do we have
'cause I'm
hashtag
so
beef? Such a loser.
Such a
I think we
loser.
might. I think we might need to bring back beef chat in the FIA.
Beef chat in the FI. Yeah, that'll be a good idea. Some inter.
Beef chat has
FIA.
never gone well, except for the times it has.
It's which is never. Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, it goes well sometimes.
Don't talk about beef chat like that.
It goes well it goes well before anyone talks about it.
Yeah, before it gets mentioned. All right. Well, is there anything else anyone wants to add before we wrap up this week's episode?
Just check out all the Vantage series running right now. Friday Night Fenders, Vantage Truck Series, Vantage Pro Series, the Retro GP series, and all the series coming on the horizon. I mean, we're going to be looking at another VF1 series, another third iRacing series that will be announced fairly soon. As well as sign up for the 3 charity races we have going on right now.
Yeah, if you haven't already, $5 entry. It's going to a good cause, Gamers Outreach. The charity. I almost forgot the name, but yeah, Gamers Outreach charity. It's a $5 entry. It's going to be at Daytona across. There's one in AMS2, one in iRacing, one in Forza. Hopefully we can get some good entries for all 3 of those. But yeah, starting in a couple of weeks, we got charity races coming up. So sign up for those. Tune into all of our races, and yeah, that should just about do it.
Hey, Elliot, can you do me a favor and pronounce the full truck series name?
Spell the acronym or say the name?
The full name.
Full name.
Full name, the Panhandle Performance Engines Truck Series presented by TH Designs.
Ah, right, thank you.
Abbreviated to PPETSPBTHD.
That was my nickname in high school.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
We will see you guys next week.